host, Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos, but my friends all call me Kat, so I hope you will too. I am the author of Dreams That Can Save Your Life, Early Warning Signs of Cancer and Other Diseases, co-authored with Dr. Larry Burke of Duke University Medical. We have a great show for you tonight, and you will only be hearing our guest tonight. He wasn't able to do the audio. He's traveling. I mean the video. He's traveling, but we've got him on audio, so we're going to do the same show. Just won't get to see him this time, but I'm sure we'll have him back on. Our guest tonight is Doug Dahlgren. He's a writer, a talk show host, and Doug has 9 books in print. 6 of them are a series known as the Son, S-O-N, series. One of the reasons why I really wanted to have him on this show is we have not really had an author on who did a whole series of nonfiction books, or rather fiction books. So this is a real treat. He's done 9 fiction books, and those of you who are writers know how hard it is to write fiction. So we wanted to have him on to talk about his books, the fact that he is also a show host and he's a writer. So welcome to the show, Doug.
Well, Kat, welcome to you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I wanted to ask you, what prompted you to move from show host to author, or was it the other way around?
Well, it was the other way around, actually. When I retired, I had stories like many of us do in my head, and I made the mistake of writing one down one night, or the beginning of one, and I showed it to my wife. She is just a constant reader. She must read 3 or 4 books a week, and even back before we began doing this. But I let her read what I had written, and she liked it. And, of course, you know how that is. You've written enough when somebody pats you on the head and says they enjoyed it. Well, you're off and running. There's no stopping you at that point. So we finished that book and put it out with the help of some folks that, will do that for you for a fee. And we did get some pretty good feedback. So, again, with that under my belt, I began going through this character that had been in my mind. And everything kind of followed in suit. The first book is called The Sun, Silas Rising. That's of the 6-book series. And they just kind of followed. The readers enjoyed them. They sent good reviews and comments, and I just kept writing. So we ended up with a 6-book series and also a couple of trailers, one on a character, kind of a prequel of a character who comes into the series, and another one was intended to be a starting point for those who had not read the entire series, and it actually, I guess you could say it's more like number 7 in the group. But anyway, they're doing well. People enjoy them, and I'm just proud to be a part of it. Doing the talk show came in as being a writer. I was asked to do an interview on a station out of Ohio, and did one. A couple of weeks later, they called me back to do another one, and then they started talking about, did I want to do a show of my own? And so for nearly 5 years now, every week, I get to interview mainly writers that are unknowns. There's some big names that I've had the pleasure of talking to, like Craig Johnson and folks like that. But mostly it is people that are starting out or looking for a leg up, trying to get a little bit of, exposure for their work. And that's what I try to do for them.
Yeah, so your show is a way that you not only get exposure for yourself, but you're helping others, which in turn helps you.
That was the idea, to sell my wife on this, because, again, when you do a new book, and we're pretty, I say we're unique. There may be others that do this. But every book that I interview an author on, we have read it cover to cover. So we're comfortable with the material, and you'd be amazed at how comfortable that makes the author. They like it when they can tell that you are familiar with their material. So she does the reading, and that took it's a big commitment to get her to do that. I said, I'm going to try this for a year and see if it gets me the exposure that I want, because, of course, everybody in this business is statistical, and they all want to get their name out there. Well, it did that to a degree, but not, wasn't burning the barn down. But what I learned was I enjoyed meeting these people. They're just excellent folks. As you're a writer. I mean, you find people through this medium that you would never have known, never had the pleasure of knowing without it. And it's just been a blessing. It really has. Like I said, we're coming up a couple more months. It'll be 5 years been doing this every week.
That's amazing. That's a long time to do, radio shows. I think Rachel, the producer that brought us on, I think we've been doing this show now going on 3 years. But most radio show hosts don't get past the second year. They're lucky if they make it past the first year. It's a love you've got to have, and you have to love being on the shows. You've got to have that inner energy that comes through. And I have to tell you, Doug, I think that your show is far more difficult than mine because people can see me, so I can wave my hands and I can kind of jump around and keep them entertained. But when all you've got is a voice coming over the air and you've got to hold them with that voice, that takes you into a whole different realm.
It does, and I appreciate you acknowledging that, but we do different things. Everybody has a different thing. There are a lot of podcasts, and, podcast is basically a recording. You and I are live right now. That's what I do. I do a live show on Friday mornings, 11 a.m. on the Artist First Radio Network, if you don't mind my saying that.
No, not at all. I was going to ask you at the end. So it's okay.
The Doug Dahlgren Show. And you can click on and listen live as we do it, but then that becomes a recording. And so they're all archived on the page, on the show's page there, and you can go back. The current page runs back 2 years, a little over 2 years, and listen to any of the shows that we have done as a podcast. And you can do that at your own pleasure. But we do a live broadcast, and there's something about the spontaneity of a live show that, again, everything, I'm purely marketing material for the author. I want to give them something they can share with friends, share with an agent, share with a publisher, share with other readers, and see if, I might want to read this guy's book or this lady's book. And so it is a love. I enjoy doing it a lot, and my wife has been tremendously supportive as well as instrumental in doing this. And,
so what was your biggest challenge in writing a whole series?
They fell in order, to be honest with you. I've asked that question to people. What's your biggest challenge in writing a book? Time is the biggest challenge in writing a book.
Yeah.
But I had the story in my head, The Sun, Silas Rising, which is book one, basically introduces that character and a few ancillary characters and gets you started. I try in each novel to not end it with you hanging. In other words, you do not have to buy the next book to find out what happened. I close out the scenarios, and you know what a weaver is? I like to weave plot lines.
Yeah, I do that too.
When you have 400 pages going, if you just go straight in order, your people fall asleep and close the book and you never hear from them. But I have several storylines going on, and I'll weave the stories back and forth, hopefully in a way that keeps the reader interested. And then when I finish, I make sure that I've tied up all those loose ends. And then the next book is about this same character meeting new people and getting into different situations, and how does he handle it? And I can promise anybody that's willing to look them up and go with them, you're not going to be left hanging on any of them, and you won't be bored by going through the same scenario on any of them. So it's always new and fresh.
Great. So how can we find you, Doug?
Well, I hate to use the word Google, but, you can just Google Doug Dahlgren and all kind of links will come up. My page is dougdahlgren.com. That's my professional writing page. There are links there to the books. You can go on Amazon and you can just go to my Doug Dahlgren books Amazon page, and all of them are listed there and all the reviews. And the beautiful thing, most of us as writers don't really like Amazon that much for different reasons, but one thing they offer to the reader is the look inside. And I love that. And I tell my guests to please use that, because you can go to look inside and read 2-3 chapters of a book you're considering to see if it flows the way you want to, if the voice is what you want, if it's the type of story that you're interested in. And it's just a beautiful feature that they offer, and I'm glad they do that.
So those of you listening, Doug's name is Dough, and then Dahlgren is Dahlgren. So Doug, I want to thank you so much.
One too many H. It's just Doug.
Oh, Doug?
Yeah, Doug, not Doe.
Oh,
Doug.
I got an H on there too. Okay, Doug.
Right.
And then Dahlgren, Dahlgren.
Right. And you can find a radio show at artistfirst.com/Dahlgren.htm. And I will
be on there Friday.
You are. I was going to say, I'm working on a real neat young lady who's survivor of 3 bouts with cancer. Mm-hmm. And you have a very interesting book. That's the thing, too, Kat. A lot of people today have memoirs, historical novels, health information novels, health novels like yours. I like to entertain people. So, folks, if you're tired of learning stuff all the time, pick up The Sun Is Rising and just have a good time with it.
So thank you again for being on our show tonight. And thank you to Rachel, our producer. This show will be turned into an article for BizCat 360 and Pathos, and I will send you, Doug, those links. So join us again next Tuesday. Same time, same place, 5 Pacific time, 8 Eastern Standard Time, for some more wonderful guests. And remember, everybody dreams, but some dreams save lives. Write yours down. Until next time, good night, everyone.
Good night.